the Erik Johnson thing.
We never talked about Erik Johnson.
People are outraged.
People have been outraged about that for the 3 weeks that it's been heavily rumored.
Yeah, 1 year, $1 million for Erik Johnson. They made it official on Twitter like a little bit before the show. He's 13 games shy of 1,000. I'm hoping he only plays the 13 games. This would piss me off if we didn't have last year of Mark Stahl as evidence that unless we need to, he's not going to play. Like Mark Stahl played 35 games. I'm fine with that.
They clearly think there's some kind of value in having a defense daddy for these kids.
Yeah.
And Erik Johnson's the new defense daddy.
I mean, the argument that you hear from the fans who are very opposed to this, and I have a couple people in my mentions telling me this in like the last half an hour of how many of these guys do you need? How many veterans do you need? And they're the people who just want to trade everybody, basically.
Of course.
The thing is that like having Scott Lawton as the culture building vet doesn't do much in terms of like helping Cam York know how to play a 2-on-1 or helping, Jamie Drysdale learn how to box someone out in front of the net. That's the value they think an Erik Johnson provides because he's actually a defenseman. Like Nick Seeler isn't here because he's the defenseman daddy. Nick Seeler is here because he blocks shots and because he's actually a pretty darn good hockey player. Like he's not, you can't just lump everyone into this culture thing. Like, oh, well, they're only here for the culture. Like, nah, Scott Lawton's here because number one, they think he's a good player. I know he didn't have a great year last year, but they think he's a good player. And number two, because he creates that welcoming environment in the locker room that they really want. Nick Seeler is here because they think he's good and they think they have him on a good contract. And also, he does a lot of the little things in terms of like blocking shots and selling out his body and things like that, where the coach can point to and say, that's what you got to do on a nightly basis to maximize your potential at the NHL level. Garnet Hathaway, again, they also think he's good. And also, they look at him as a guy who, great dude in the locker room, nice guy. But like these are all guys kind of playing different roles. I get the argument of like, well, how many do you need? But like they're good players too.
He's gonna sit in the press box, dude. Who cares?
That's the thing with this one specifically.
This is
like
a press box
if this
guy.
was a Chris Van de Velde situation where he's gonna play 81 games straight, I would have an issue with it. Based on the Mark Stahl usage, I don't believe that's an issue, so I'm not as upset about it.
Right.
The other part of this, just in terms of overall, as Charlie was just the culture guys, the veterans. I've made my peace with the I'd rather just you know what, Emile Andre, if we're so high on him, fucking play him. Here's the thing. By kicking the can the way that they didn't love this draft class, but like it's very obvious, like, oh yeah, those guys next year, we want them, and we're kind of that pushes everything a year. This is gonna take longer than we all wish it would, and that's probably a good thing. Like they're not gonna half-ass it. They're not gonna just band-aid this thing. They're going to build it slowly with the players that they think will fit and ultimately, hopefully, build a champion. We'll see if they're right.
We all silly like the mayor.